Hello, all you hardcores. You know the rest. I'm joined by my good friend Julian, my wingman. How are you doing, pal?
I'm in bloody agony, mate. I told you, pulled me back this morning. I have a bad back. I won't bore you all with details. You don't need to know that, but I'm in absolute agony. So I'm a few painkillers. So hopefully I don't start talking nonsense, mate. But I'm all right. I've got a week off work. But yeah, what a time to pull me back.
Yeah. Uh, well, there's only one place to start. Conor Ben and Simon Jordan, the softening media up, aren't they?
Well, I always try not to come across as a know-all. I genuinely do, because I don't know everything. If I knew everything, I'd have done a lot better in life. But this stuff is really predictable. Now, I know you always give me a little bit of time on this corner bend thing. So if you remember last
Yeah.
year when I did a video and we talked about this, and I continually use the words on Porky's Corner, history revisionists. What happens is when you don't get what you want, people change what happened in the past, which was obviously at that time the present. Now, what we've got now is we've got history revisionists in full flow now, and they're trying to convince the boxing public, the general public, that things we actually said and statements we actually made and things we actually did, we didn't do, we didn't say, we didn't make those statements. So where do you want to start? So obviously Simon Jordan. I've made a couple of notes, but not many. We generally fly, don't we? We don't do the kind of quotes and preparation because we know our stuff. Now Simon Jordan's just been on a little episode on Talksport with Spencer Oliver, and he's obviously learned from Gareth A. Davis because Gareth A. Davis threw Adam Catterall under the bus, and now Simon Jordan's becoming the best friend to Conor Ben, and he's throwing Spencer Oliver under the bus, saying he's really annoyed with you, he's really upset with you, you said this, you said that, he's not happy. So we've got, it's like Caesar's last act, isn't it, when he got stabbed in the back, et tu, Brute. We've got Caesar now effectively getting stabbed in the back, right? Okay, so history revisionists. So breaking news, everybody. The 270-page document that outlined Conor Ben's defence and his innocence, previously that Conor Ben said was 270 pages, Jose Sullivan said was 270 pages, Piers Morgan said was 270 pages, the Daily Mail and all the newspapers quoted 270 pages, Eddie Hearn quoted 270 pages of defence, and the general media, online platforms,
Yes,
etc.
Morgan.
Everybody said 270 pages. Breaking news, everybody. It's now 40 pages. It was never 270 pages. What do you think to that, Russell?
Well, I think that piecing it all together, they've tried everything except playing the victim, mental health, and the race card. They're the only three cards they've got left now. So they're going for victim now and badly done to, and we've been wronged. So what they do, they go after the biggest fish in the media who's caused the biggest noise over this, and that's Talksport, Simon Jordan, and the Gad. The Gad's already been softened up. They're friends now. We saw that, haven't we? We've heard the Gad recently. He's not said a dicky bird, has he? He's gone quiet on the matter.
Nothing, not a peep from Gareth A. Davis.
Probably a peek out of Spencer Oliver today, but there's been plenty said. So nothing from IFL, but in Coogan Cassius, the godfather to his kid or something like that. So you're not going to get a peek at him.
I don't think we don't need to cover Coogan because
Yeah, we know what he is. We've not heard no from
we know what he is.
Boxing Social. That's that little Parsons, that little starstruck little weasel. Nothing from him. They're not going to get Boxing News lads, Barry Jones, Rob Tebbert, and Andy Clark anything, and they're not going to go too far with it because they need access. So it's left to me, you, Ultratech, and Hatman, basically, to carry the flag.
Yeah, and listen, just I know that I've heard Gareth A. Davis use this quote, and I've heard other people use this term, which I hate, right? People call us haters. So just for anybody who's calling me a hater, for example, yep, I boxed amateur for a lot of years. I coached amateurs for a lot of years, professional boxing, etc. I've given up massive amounts of my time to a sport that I love. I'm also a subscriber of BT Sports, Sky Sports, and DAZN. Okay, so I'm not a hater. I'm now someone who was in the sport at the time, and now I'm a consumer. So I'm entitled to an opinion. I'm entitled to my viewpoint. So before people start labeling us as haters, they need to understand that we're defending boxing. But what happens is it's really easy to label someone a hater. You've been called a hater by Gareth A. Davis, Russell. You've been called a hater. It's the easiest thing in the world to label. Yeah, it's the easiest thing in the world is to label someone a hater because it just puts them in a box, and then it means that anything that they say or do or think is biased or skewed or wrong. So we're not falling for that one. So as I said, what we've got the history revisionists, right? It now is a 40-page document. The 270-page document never existed. So it's 40 pages. The evidence that Eddie Hearn said will blow you away. It's like this. It's 270 pages thick. It's now 40 pages, right? So that's one. The second one, okay, is Conor Benn's license. We'd heard previous that it expired, and Simon Jordan was, and I'm going to move on to Simon Jordan in a minute, who was so disappointing, it's untrue. He was kind of the last beacon of hope with the media, wasn't he, in terms of
God,
saving
he
box.
rolled over and let him tickle his belly, hasn't he?
Eddie stopped him twice, brutally. Eddie was George Foreman, and Simon Jordan was Joe Fraser. He just dropped him several times and battered him twice. So Simon Jordan, we had hopes on you, but the license thing, ultimately what he's now saying, what Simon Jordan is saying, and I'm going to move on to him in a bit more detail in a second, is it was an administration and a clerical error where Conor hadn't realised my license had expired. This is Conor Benn, okay? Conor Benn, who is a so-called elite athlete, a so-called heir apparent to the World Welterweight Championship. Eddie's probably number 2 boxer in the UK. He's got the best team around him, the best for the best, okay? The best for the best. He said previously on social media, every single thing that goes into his body is monitored and logged. It's all documented because he has to do this now because of how boxing is, and he's a professional athlete and he has to be clean, etc. He said this years ago, it came back and tripped him up, right? This is the same guy, right, who's so thorough and so meticulous in everything he does. Him and his team forgot to enroll him first time into the World Boxing Council clean boxing program. Oops, clerical error. And then second of all, coming up to the biggest fight of his career last October against Chris Eubank Jr., a massive multi-million pound fight, he forgot to renew his license. Yeah. He just forgot to renew his license. Clerical error. I'm going abroad. I've got this massive thing. I've forgot my suitcase. I've forgot my passport. I've forgot my money. I've forgot my shoes. I've turned up barefoot. It's like we're not haters, but we're not stupid. Yeah. Simon Jordan, everybody else, we're not stupid. And these people think that we're stupid because they talk to us like we're stupid. So what's happened now? Right, okay. The license thing is history revisionist number 1. The 40-page document, history revisionist number 2. Now, what I'm now going to do is I'm now going to quote Simon Jordan. I'm going to quote him. I am not a mouthpiece for Conor Benn. He's basically said he's had a conversation with Conor Benn what says, listen, I'm just here to, speak about the truth. I want to know details, etc. Don't think you've got an advocate here. Don't think you've got an apologist here. I'm just here, because you've asked me to come, right? I am not a mouthpiece for Conor Benn. He followed this up by saying, he's a fine young man, said that 3 times. He's placid. he's thoughtful, he's decent. He said he was decent twice, and he also said Conor Benn is clever. So I'm not a mouthpiece for Conor Benn, but all I'm going to do before I say anything about what my view is I'm going to throw a load of really good, positive words around Conor Benn before I say, well, you know, it remains for him to present this evidence and he should have gone down this route and blah, 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 blah. But what I'm going to say before that is, it's like someone's been accused of stealing and you say, I'm going to be neutral in this situation. But what I'm going to say is, I've known this guy all my life. He's really honest. He's from a good family. He's such a decent kid. But, you know, we'll have to find out if he actually did steal what he was accused of stealing. He's laying the foundations of telling you how amazing this young man is. And he might be, he might not be. We're boxing fans. We don't really care about that. We just care if fighters are clean or not, by the way, Simon Jordan. And I thought, it's just so frustrating. So what's happened is Simon Jordan, I know you watch this stuff, by the way, because you're repeating too many questions that we've gone into detail and asked that no one else is asking. And Spencer was repeating some of those questions and you're just asking them in a different way. So we know you're watching, right? We know you're watching. So breaking news on Porky's Corner, what's happened, okay, is Simon Jordan has just joined the public relations team for Conor Benn.
Basically, like the Gad joined Furies.
That's exactly what he's just done. He has just joined the PR team for Conor Benn. And what we've also discovered, Russell, and then I'm going to quieten down for a minute. What we've also discovered, some people said I was quite scathing recently on Sam Jones. Maybe I was, maybe I wasn't. I'm sure he's heard a lot worse. He's involved in boxing, and I think he was a car salesman or something. So he'll have heard a hell of a lot worse than what I've said about him. But now we know why Sam Jordan has been bigging up the fight, because now he's become this middleman, he's become this mediator, and he's become this spokesperson for Conor Benn. Everything's fitting into place, isn't it now? Where's Simon Jordan's kind of going to settle? He realised he couldn't beat Eddie. If you can't, what's the saying? If you can't beat them, join them. Yeah. So Eddie destroyed him twice, battered him, embarrassed him, humiliated him. Simon Jordan realised he knew very little compared to Eddie in terms of boxing, and he certainly couldn't match him for debate. So he's now joining Team Benn. Sam Jones has kind of been hanging around there for God knows how long, and now we know where Sam Jones is. He's a mediator, not Eddie Hearn, not Charlie Sims.
Why couldn't Eddie do it? Why couldn't he ring Simon Jordan?
Not Nigel Benn. None of these people
even knew about it, did they?
If you want to meet with Conor Benn now, you go through Sam Jones. That's where we're at. That's where we're at. You've got to go through Sam Jones because he's the man in the know. Listen, when someone asks you to be a mediator for them, that means they trust you implicitly. So Sam Jones is the mediator, the arranger, is the man on The Godfather 2, is the middleman who brings the families together, the trusted man, the confidant. I introduce you, ladies and gentlemen, Sam Jones.
It's the Hyman Roth of boxing.
Yeah, you remember that one, mate, didn't you? Yep, the Hyman Roth of boxing. We all, well, yeah. Look, you couldn't make this stuff up, could you? Listen, we've said this, yeah. We're not haters at all, right? We're consumers, we're fans of boxing, we've been involved in boxing previously. We're not haters, right? If Conor Benn is clean, or if Conor Benn wasn't clean, but it was really something that it wasn't his fault, and they can prove this. What I want to know, and I'm just going to come on to my final point, I always say that, right? So, what was the punchline? Apart from the Sam Jones thing, apart from the history revisionists, what was the punchline today? Conor Benn is going to present all this information. He's going to come out, speak publicly, probably on this platform. So Talksport have now got the exclusive with Conor Benn. The same platform Eddie Hearn criticised Robert Smith for going on and not speaking to those guys direct. They're going to do the
They've got
same
nowhere
thing.
else to go now, have they? They've had to go back cap in hand to Talksport, haven't they?
Yeah, they've gone for the ones who literally have hammered the most, haven't they? And they've spoke about this the most. And they've
Won't come near me.
public perception, right? If we can convince Talksport, and we've already done a really good job with Gareth A. Davies because he's gone quiet, right?
Yeah.
If we can convince Simon Jordan, or we can get him on board publicly.
Both of them, there's only Juggies left, isn't there then?
There's only Spencer Oliver left, and who cares about Spencer Oliver? He's only a brave fighter who risked his life in the ring and almost died in the ring. That's all he is. He's disposable because he's a boxer. He's an ex-boxer, and boxers are disposable in boxing. Everybody knows that. They're all disposable. We can bring on another Spencer Oliver. We can bring on another pundit because they'll fall out, by the way. He'll be gone. They'll fall out. And it depends how compliant Spencer Oliver is throughout this situation. But there you go. He's angry with you, Spencer. He's annoyed at you, mate. But what he also said, again, is, as like I've said, the irony is they're going to go on to Talksport. Conor Benn's very likely going to go on Talksport. He's not going to do what Robert Smith keeps saying he's supposed to be doing, sit down with the board and sit down with UCAD, not about jury restriction, about the positive tests. Come and talk to us about that. If you had evidence, Conor, if you've got evidence with your legal team that says, right, listen, we can prove how clomiphene's got in his system. It was from a food source. It wasn't part of a cocktail of performance-enhancing drugs. It was mistakenly, inadvertently put into his system. If we can prove that, just go prove it, because we won't have egg on our faces, no pun intended, Conor. We won't have egg on our faces. If you prove yourself to be innocent, we'll just say, well, why is it taking you 18 months to do this? Why didn't you just do this sooner? Why would you risk losing, this is not including you and I, by the way, but why would you risk losing the love of the British public, who were really gaining some kind of admiration for Nigel Benn's son? Why would you risk losing that by sat on evidence that could exonerate you? Why would you do that? Why is all this stuff sort of coming out now? You've got to ask these questions. And Porky's Corner and Ultratech and the Hat Man and one or two of us, Anthony Fowler, these guys that were the only ones who was asking it, because we're being hushed, we're being silenced. History is being rewritten. The biggest media platform, I mean, we know IFL were literally apologists for Conor Benn and for Matchroom, and now they've gone and got the coup, haven't they? They've gone and got Talksport, effectively. They've bought the trust of Talksport. Wow.
Well, any YouTuber worth the salt, right, who's putting themselves out on YouTube as boxing YouTubers, who isn't pushing this, they should be ashamed of themselves. They should look in the mirror and say, why am I not pushing this? Do I want to stay friends with these people? Do these people pay me mortgage? Do these people pay for my kids to have a pair of Nike Air Max for Christmas? Are they buying me my Christmas turkey? No, these people don't care for you YouTubers. They don't care. They might give you a bit of access every now and then, or say hello to you at a show. Does that mean that you can't ask proper questions? It's craziness.
It's just bizarre, isn't it? It wouldn't happen in business, the highest level in business, HR get involved, legal get involved, people come and go in business at CEO level. You've got to be straight down the line. But for whatever reason, in boxing and in sport, it just happens, and they're changing the story of what's happened. And I said it, didn't I? We called this stuff so long ago. I called this stuff in October when it came out. I said, there's going to be history revisionists. Everything you think you've heard, seen, and read, forget that. Forget that, forget all this stuff about what I've been looking about, what the British Boxing Board of Control have said, what Conor Benn has said, what UCAD have said, what VADA have said, what the WBC have said. This no longer applies because we're telling you, no, actually, we didn't say that. Even though there's like a data trail, a mile long, 18 months long, that proves all this stuff was said, they're now saying we never said that. Conor Benn never said 270 pages. he didn't throw his license away. In spite of calling the Board of Control biased and saying, I'm going to sue them for $3.5 million, I'm going to sue the WBC, I'm going to sue anyone in my eye line whatsoever. No, I never said that. I wasn't going to do that. No, I've always tried to work with the British Boxing Board of Control. I respect the Boxing Board of Control. And they're just erasing everything that's been said, like in the film 1984, these history revisionists who were erasing history. They were just erasing history, and that's what they're doing now.
Here's a question for you. Right. So these people, right, that I can explain this. Okay, why do these people, these media guys like Simon Jordan, the guy, they come out, they're all they're not happy about this and that, and they're gonna make a stance. Right, down the line, they get softened up, and then before you know where you are, the secret meetings and this and that, and he's not such a bad guy. Listen, Conor Benn's a nice guy, I know him. He wouldn't take drugs. Listen, they reckon Fred West were a fantastic teenager. Look what happened there. Hey, Fred and Rose, look what they were going around doing in a Ford Cortina. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Hey, they were nice people, but they were killing people. He might be a nice kid. Anybody's a nice kid when people are giving you money hand over fist. But he couldn't fight and he couldn't punch. And then all of a sudden he turned into Aaron Pryor.
I didn't think he was a nice kid when he was laughing at disabled babies and showing babies with club feet on his phone with him and his friends. I didn't think that was a particularly nice thing to do. He doesn't look very pleasant when he's shoving microphones away from Gareth A. Davis, when he's telling people he's going to smash them to pieces, when he's shoulder bumping Kell Brook to try and get a reaction, when Kell Brook actually never accused him of doing anything, nothing at all. He didn't shoulder bump Liam Smith, did he? Who said he was a cheating, see you next Tuesday. He didn't shoulder bump Liam Smith. He said, oh, I get on with Liam. He's all right, he's Liam. He's not a nice kid. He's a bully. He's a spoilt brat, and he gets his own way. And he gets his own way because of what we've just seen today with Simon Jordan. Because they'll do anything for access. They'll do anything to stay relevant. And if Ben fights Eubank, they all want to be there. And what they're worried about now is exactly what Frank Warren and Fury have done in Saudi with Simon Jordan. They're worried about being cancelled by Matchroom now. That's what this goes down to, Russell. If you look what they've done with Simon Jordan, Fury says, I don't want you covering any of my fights, nowhere near my fights. So if you imagine, right, if Conor Benn takes the same approach to Simon Jordan, Gareth A. Davis, I don't want you near my fights. You're banned from my fights. Who have they got to talk about then?
Nobody.
Access. It's all about access.
It's all about access. Listen, when I were in Bulgaria a few years ago when Yui fought Pula, this was about 20 minutes before me and Dennis had our roll around and he bit me. After I choked him, though. Right. I pulled Dennis because that Coogan Cassius was over there. I goes, oh, is he? We went and sat with him. We goes, do you want a drink? He went, no, I'm working. I went, working? All right. Tom Little were there and a few of us. I says, why don't you ask proper questions, you? And Dennis would give me a tap under the table as if to say, don't be kicking off in here because you've had a drink. And he went, well, what it is, poke. Got things to pay out and this and that. Look, you know what it is. You know how it goes. I said, no, I don't know how it goes. I'm just new to this game. I've not been doing it 9-10 months. Why don't you ask proper questions? Because if you ask proper questions, you're not going to get access. And I've got people that depend on me. I can understand that. You know, you've got a bird and a house around his neck and he's employing a few people.
I get it.
So fair enough. So what could I say to that, really, once he said that? Well, listen, they're controlled. These people are controlled by the media. Boxing's always done this, not football. Could you imagine somebody saying to Roy Keane or Gary Neville, you can't say this, you can't say that? Gary Neville would be one out, all out, wouldn't he? Old Red Nev. Do you know what I mean? He'd have them all out. There'd be all sorts of complaints going in. Boxing's a lot different. But like I said, all them YouTubers, we access, have a good look in the mirror at yourselves. Because you all need to put your tongue up people's arseholes to get access. That's what it is. And they daren't ask proper questions. They're like fanboys with cameras now. All of them are fanboys with cameras. All them who are doing YouTube, that's everybody. If you're not going to talk about this story, what's the point? What is the point of being a YouTuber if you're not going to mention this or put it out there what should be said? I mean, these people, they're stood in the penthouse, they've got the little cocks out, and they're hosing us all down, and we're all near the swimming pool looking up at them. Way! Drowned in gold piss.
Yeah. They're pissing down your back and telling you it's raining, mate. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's just awful, isn't it? And like I say, thankfully, a lot of people who watch your channel who know the situation, don't they? They like what we're about, they like what you're about, and they say, look, you're just telling the truth. And to the best of my knowledge, you've not been shut down yet.
Listen, them lot who tune into my channel, they're not stupid.
No, they're not.
Not stupid. They follow the game, all of them. Follow the game. Even the ones that have plenty to say and plenty rattle and want to stick it to me, good on them. Keep watching. But they know I'm right. They know. Look in the mirror, I say. Man in the mirror moment. That's your saying, Julian.
Man in the mirror moment. We only have to predicted all this stuff as it were unfolding last October, didn't we? All the chain of events, what was going to happen. 80-90% of it's happened. We probably underestimated some of what's happening because even we thought that some of these media guys had a bit more backbone, didn't we?
I thought Simon Jordan had a bit more backbone.
He's just so disappointing, isn't he? He's like,
why couldn't he refuse a meeting with him and say, no, if you want to talk to me, we'll do it on Talksport. That's what should have been done. None of this sneaking, tiptoeing around, palling each other up in Dorchester for tea and scones. What is that?
Look, this is how the conversation's gone. Look, right. We've dealt with this really, really badly. All right. We've been hostile. We've alienated the British Boxing Board of Control, the WBC. We've alienated professional boxers, fans, everybody. Right. All right. We've made a bit of a mess about this. So how can we fix this relationship? And there's all those conversations that's gone round. And as you just said, no one's been direct. And no one's, if that had been me, I'd have just said, listen, you've got your view, Connor. I've got mine. I'm open-minded. But no secret interviews, no little meetings, what I'm not going to disclose. Because Simon Jordan now, I've been sworn to confidentiality, and I've said to Connor, I won't divulge this and I won't divulge that. He sounds like Gareth A. Davis now, doesn't he? They've both done the same thing, haven't they? They're having all these secret meetings, bigging themselves up, saying, but I can't go into too much detail, so, but lovely young man, nice young man, decent young man, honest young man, integrity, that building it up. And as you've just said, what he should have said is, I work for Talksport, right? That's what I do. You want to talk to me, you come on here. Bring your legal team if you want, if you think I'm too challenging, but you come on here and you answer these questions on here, or you answer the questions as you should be doing to the British Boxing Board of Control. But what's happened now, and I said this would happen last week, the Boxing Board of Control have been bullied and bullied and bullied and bullied, but they're now starting to be bullied by the media. And you've got Simon Jordan, according to him, and the information that he was told in this secret meeting, you now have Simon Jordan, who's more informed about this than Robert Smith and the medics at the British Boxing Board of Control. The very people at UCAD and the British Boxing Board of Control who Conor Benn needs to convince how this got in his system. That's if he accepts it was in his system. He needs to convince these people, but no, he's trying to convince Simon Jordan. He's trying to convince Simon Jordan because Simon Jordan has got a bigger platform and a bigger voice and a bigger influence than Robert Smith. That's it, in a nutshell.
Does that mean now that the Talksport and obviously Matchroom, Conor Benn, they're saying Eddie Hearn didn't know about it? He's been writing scripts 18 months on this, Eddie Hearn, since first dope test failure. Eddie gets to know everything. It's his job to know. I don't believe any of that bullshit. You're telling me Conor Benn's not going to tell his trainer and go meet Simon Jordan for a coffee at Dorchester? Do you believe that, Julian?
No, everybody knows about this meeting, mate. Everybody. You're telling me
No.
Eddie Hearn's promoter didn't know he was going to meet Simon Jordan, but Sam Jones did.
Hey? So if
He-
that's true, Sam Jones looks a right sneak, doesn't he, behind Eddie's back? Listen, Eddie probably put him up to it. He probably didn't have knackers to ring Simon Jordan because Simon Jordan had gone, crawl into me, are you? And he'd have had that little dig at him. So they've sent him in, haven't they, Sam Jones?
Tried
Boxing.
everything. They tried
Boxing.
Piers Morgan. They tried Piers Morgan because he's a friend of Nigel Benn. And Nigel Benn's a British boxing legend. They tried Piers Morgan, hoping that he'd be like really, really nice and compliant. Why they think Simon, why they think Piers Morgan would be like that, I've no idea. But it backfired so badly, didn't it? And then they bring this second dream team on who was talking about the metaboloids in his system and how it reacts to this and how dirty eggs might have got in his system by mistake and all this kind of stuff. But like I said, the last video we did, you've got two arguments. Yeah. You have a technical jurisdictional argument, but you've got this evidence that is so compelling that Gareth A. Davies said it's really explosive stuff, that Eddie Hearn says, wait till you see the science, it will blow you away. Eddie Hearn's words. You've now got Simon Jordan saying, you see, there's a lot more that's going to come to light that wasn't in the public domain. It wasn't known, and it's all going to come to light. And I know I can't break that confidentiality, but I know what that is now. So everybody knows about this, apart from UKAD and the British Boxing Board of Control. So you've got this blanket media suffocating Robert Smith, who's probably either going to lose, because what this has become trial by media, hasn't it?
Yeah.
This isn't a private matter. We don't know what's going on with Dillian White because it's been dealt with privately. We didn't know about Amir Khan until Amir Khan got the ban, did we? We didn't know anything about it because it was dealt with privately. But what we've had now is we've had this massive public thing since October last year. It's been trial by media, non-stop all the way through. So the border control will never be able to get a real voice, and they're just going to get railroaded and steamrolled. So Conor Benn saying, how can I have a fair hearing? How am I going to get a fair call? Well, what can the border control? And I never defend the border control, you know that. What can the border control and UKAD do now? They've already been overruled once by the UK anti-doping panel. Again, that's the point that we're getting. You've got all this evidence, this massive evidence that Jordan's aware of, Eddie's aware of, Gareth A. Davies is aware of, and I assume Sam Jones has seen this evidence as well. Everybody's aware of all this evidence. What route do you go? You go jurisdiction. Does that make sense to you?
No.
You don't go. You go jurisdiction, and you've got this amazing, compelling evidence. That the thing is, Conor, we're all thirsty for this evidence because we want to know. Because in spite of what you believe and what you think, people don't want dirty athletes in boxing. People want clean athletes, and we want to believe all athletes are clean. So if you have got something that can prove that, don't say it's confidential because you're telling everybody everything else anyway. You've done this trial by media, so you might as well just share with us the important bits about this. Don't just share with us everything else and the hostilities and the anger and how you're being victimized and how no one else has had to go down this route and the board didn't treat them differently. They treat them. Don't go down that route. Just put the evidence out there because you're going to do it anyway. But you're going to do it on Talksport, aren't you? And the Talksport one, just for anybody who will be watching that, you know how it works, Russell. It'll be a very, very carefully crafted session. There'll be certain things what you can ask, what you can't ask, and it'll be all about Conor, basically, and his team giving us information and giving us viewpoints, and it'll be just such a tame. There'll be no devil's advocate there. It'll be just such a tame thing. It's embarrassing. Why are we still talking about it? Because they're still treating it like this trial by media, this public circus, dragging boxing through the mud, instead of just going about this really quietly, really discreetly, meet with UKAD, meet with the board, clean this matter up, either do your ban or don't get banned and be exonerated, or
How
not.
would Sam Jones feel if somebody beat one of his fighters and it came that they failed the dope test? What would Sam Jones say if they said, "Sam, I've not took out, I swear to God"? What would Sam Jones do?
And then Sam Jones saw that fighter on TV 6 months later being represented by somebody else, having secret meetings with somebody else.
Or,
I mean,
best thing about it is, how is Sam Jones all of a sudden the go-to mediator guy as this expert when look what happened with Joe Joyce's career with him?
he could have gone to the WBA, couldn't he? This go-to person could have gone to the WBO and gone to Frank Warren and forced the world title shot for his charge at the time, Joe Joyce, whose career now is absolutely in tatters, and at 39 years old, it's probably over in terms of being a world-class heavyweight. That's where he could have gone. He could have Sam go to the man Jones. He could have gone to the WBO, couldn't he? Could have gone to Queensbury.
Well, he was too busy feathering his nest, wasn't he?
It's worked though, hasn't it? Because what he's got now, he's got unbeaten kids who are signing with him. He's now representing Conor Benn.
It shows you're a rimmer you can get on. You've got to be an arse licker to get on. Isn't that right,
that also means that this.
Is that right, Sam? Pop, pop, bang.
That also means that in this masculine testosterone fueled sport, we've also got people who enjoy being rimmed, haven't we?
Well, it's interesting, mate, isn't it? It's the media's been softened up, and like I said, it's all on Robert Smith now. Is Robert Smith going to stand firm, or a Talksport going to put it out there and make out Conor Benn's a victim? And he's got this amazing evidence that proves that how he digests eggs and a lot of other people how they digest the testings. Well, show us it.
I think Robert Smith and the Border Control are going to struggle because sometimes you just absolutely bow down to peer pressure, to the media pressure and the public pressure, don't you? It's become trial by media, trial by the public. It's going a different way. It's going the way we thought it would go, but not the way we hoped it would go. And as you've said, we're moving towards victim. And when they're building him up as being this Mary Poppins, Mother Teresa type character now, is when it's honestly just past the sick bucket, Simon Jordan, because even Spencer Oliver did say when you were saying fine young man, placid, thoughtful, decent, and clever. Even Spencer Oliver turned around and says, that's got nothing to do with it, though, has it? Spencer Oliver's like, what are you telling me that for? It's irrelevant if he's decent. It might be decent. It might be clean, but you're not behaving in that way, are you?
And we said, prove it.
Every time but we've said, and we've got to do part 2 coming up soon in 30 seconds. We've said, Russell, every single time you tell an inconsistency or a lie, we're going to jump on it from now on, aren't we? Straight away.
Oh my God! Listen, I'm going to be all over these like a rash. When that ice breaks, Porky will be waiting.
Tell the truth, guys. Tell the truth. And Simon Jordan, you got to look yourself in the mirror. It's not like you need the money. It's not like you need the profile. You had a lot of people behind you who hoped that you would be part of the Boxing Board of Control, or you would do something yourself and you would bring some cleanliness and some decency to boxing. And now you've just joined the rest of the rats in the sewer. You are a bigger disappointment than the Eddie Earns of this world and the Sam Jones of this world, because we expect it from you. We don't expect it from you, Simon Jordan. Disgraceful.
We expected it from the Gad, didn't we? But not Simon Jordan.
Yeah.
No good, is it?
Part 2, Russell.
Part 2. All right. Pop, pop, back.